listening to the Cambridge Insider Podcast. In this episode, hosts Mariah and Stephen discuss how we connect community within our schools, families, and students. This episode is sponsored by Allendale Columbia School. Allendale Columbia School is a diverse, independent co-ed school located in Rochester, New York. With a strong academic program, wonderful STEM offerings, and great extracurriculars, Allendale creates a wonderful environment for international students from across the world. Thanks for listening.
Cambridge Insider Podcast time. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cambridge Insider Podcast. As per usual, my co-host, Mariah Thompson, how are you?
I'm doing very well. How about you, Stephen?
Also doing well, thank you. Winter, I feel like, is in full force in the Northeast. Even though it's fall, it's cold.
I was just thinking that too. It feels extra cold today. It feels almost like it's already November here in New York, but that'll change soon when I move to Texas in a couple weeks. So I'll be like reversing the clock back for me in weather.
Exactly. Those of you that are looking for warmer climates that are considering coming to the US, we have some wonderful partner schools in Texas. So Mariah, today we'll be talking a little bit about community. It's such an important word. It's such an important concept for Cambridge Network. If you want to kick us off here, just explain to our listeners, when we talk about community, what do we mean? Why is it so important? Just give us a general feel for the word and the idea.
Yeah, I think community is like honestly the basis of everything that we do at Cambridge because you really can't do anything without another like department or another section of what Cambridge is. So that idea of community coming together and building each other up is really the foundation of who Cambridge is because you think about it, there's students, there's host families, there's the schools, there's the natural parents, and then you have all our Cambridge staff. And at some point throughout the school year, you're interacting with everyone on that capacity level. And the better you want your students or your program or your host families to thrive, the more community involved, we always see better results. So it really is just like the main source of life at Cambridge through community.
Okay, so the idea of like different aspects of a student's existence, if we look at it from a student's perspective, being interconnected with one another. I don't just go to school. I don't just live at a host family. I don't just do extra academic classes. All of those are in community or in connection with one another and work for the ultimate goal of making my time here successful.
Yeah, listening to students talk, the ones that get involved more, whether it be in their host family, like getting really close to their host family, getting connected with our Cambridge Care programs, or just connected in their school from playing sports, those are the stories you hear. The students really thriving when they're furthering their education into college as well. So it really is important for us to get all our students connected in community because we just see that the success that they have when they do so.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And not only that as an example from a student side, but I think from a school side as well, right? I just see it more and more that when schools are aware of the entire community that surrounds a student and it surrounds them as a school and it surrounds their families in their community that host for them, that they become more successful at looking after their students, at making sure their students are provided for, but also they become more successful at telling the story of what it means to be an international kid at their school and how important that is and how that becomes second nature when they buy into this idea.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So I know the answer to this. What are Cambridge doing, though, to promote community? When somebody looks from the outside, they might not see it. They might not be aware of it. Might be a new student coming in the next recruitment season. Talk a little bit about Cambridge and how we promote this idea of community.
Yeah, there's a lot of aspects of what Cambridge is doing, like departmentally. Like for our host family, we have a host family team that is connecting with our hosts, making sure they're feeling updated and connected to our company, but also to other hosts to make them feel like they're not in this alone. The same way with students, we have our Cambridge Care programs that provide opportunities for students to get involved, to interact with other international students, but then also their communities. And as well with the schools, Cambridge Care would like to plug in with the schools. So right now, which is coming up in this next week, on October 27th, we'll be launching our first Connecting Communities event that connects everyone who's involved in Cambridge together. So, like I said before, our students, our host families, our schools, and our Cambridge teams, and then anyone else that is a part of Cambridge Network, whether it's a natural parent or a teacher of that school, they're also invited as well. So we just come together, see what's happening, see how different parts that may not connect right now, how they can connect, how they can be more supported, and just be excited together. What all the things that we're doing in Cambridge, be supportive to our students and excited. We have a student council that is insane. They're so incredible. The students want to get involved in communities, so they'll have a chance to show everyone what they're doing. And so that will give opportunities for schools and hosts to support these students and to get their students involved if they think that would be something that would be good for their students. But then also just to remind everyone what the importance of community and what we do at Cambridge, and bring us all together. I think for myself, one of the coolest things about working from Cambridge is to like really think about the locations of everyone, whether it be a coworker in China or a student in California or in Texas. Like we're all over the place. We look differently, we sound differently, but at the end of the day, we really care about education and these students. So it connects us all together. So I'm meeting people from around the world, which is so unique. So this event will do that and remind all of us what we're doing and why we're doing it. So it'll be a really special event, I think.
Awesome. Just on a logistical side, if people want to know more about the event, if they perhaps want to sign in, register for it, how would that process work?
Yeah, so if you're watching or listening to this episode, I'll put everything in the description that you can see the link to register and to get a little info on it. It would be a Zoom link, so it's nothing in person. You can join us live. We'll have people all over the world joining us, so that's really exciting. So I'll put it in the description, and also if you follow us on social media, we've been posting it a lot there too, so you won't miss it at all if you want to get involved.
Awesome. It's something that just came to me is it's weird, maybe not so weird, how when our students come to this country and they're somewhat isolated, how important that role of community is. With you moving to Texas, I am just fascinated to think and to maybe hear your thoughts on the sense of community that you will hopefully buy into there and how important that would be for somebody even like yourself who's an American who's grown up in this country but is moving, states and what that
Yeah.
sense of community can bring you.
That's a really good connection because I move in 2 weeks and I'm gearing up. And I know some people there, but it's definitely all brand new to me, especially like my main source of community. Like my immediate family and all my friends are back here in New York. And I'm moving there into acquaintances and friends that are kind of there, but I have to get them to know them more. So it kind of is similar to the idea of a student coming over. I'm nervous, but I already am finding community groups that I want to get plugged into so I can make connections fast. I can see what I like and what I don't like so I can thrive on them there. So that's like the same idea as what these students need, right? Like they need to get plugged in somewhere so their home away from home can really feel like a place that they feel comfortable where they can grow and thrive. So I'm in the same boat as these kids right now.
Absolutely. We'll most definitely have you report back and give us an
Yes.
idea of how that search for community is going. We're all, pulling and pushing for you and hoping that it'll go super well. Um, I did want to make one final comment that we briefly just mentioned just before we said goodbye. We briefly mentioned at the beginning of the episode for schools how important it is. I think sometimes the idea of community comes across as a great idea, but it remains as sort of a value aspiration and something that we'd love to aspire to be better. When schools listen to this and think about this, specifically with the recruitment market where it is, where we got to work really, really hard for enrollment numbers and new applications, how important community is and a sense of community and buying into that community, how important that is, not only for you, as I mentioned, to be able to tell your story, tell your student success stories, but also being able to sell the idea of community, being able to sell the idea that when you come to our program, we have this wonderful community where you can plug in. And very likely, if a school is connected and plugged into that community, they're going to take better care of their students. And when they take better care of their students, guaranteed their re-enrollment rate is higher. And re-enrollment rate sometimes, and you and I were chatting about this briefly earlier this week, but re-enrollment rate is something that's often schools don't think about it. They don't have to work super hard for it, or feel that they don't have to work super hard for it. Every re-enrolling student is a full paying student that comes to your program, that's able to contribute to your community, able to contribute to your diversity. So bear that in mind, schools. If you are maybe struggling with this concept or wondering, how does this apply to me? Think about community, think about plugging in with your Cambridge community, but also your students' community, and how that can translate to better enrollments and more applications.
Yeah, it's good for re-enrollment, but like when things are happening and communities building, word of mouth goes a long way. So it's not only good for international students, but people domestically will be like, they're doing really cool things there. So I think it's like a two-way street on that one. Like the international students, no other international students, they're gonna be like, this school is great, we love it here. So there's word of mouth there, but then also it just looks good on a domestic stance too, I think.
Absolutely. And that word of mouth, and this is the final thing I promise that I'll say, but that word of mouth, the authenticity that brings for potential students who are looking maybe at a program, you can't buy that with $1 billion worth of marketing investments. So bear that in mind and think about the maybe more subtle gains that you are getting to your program. Mariah, I appreciate your insights as always. Any final thoughts as we end off this second to last episode of season 2 of the Cambridge Insider podcast?
No, our only thing is that I love our podcast community. So as we're talking about community, just think about our followers that have continuously listened in. We see you. We hope to hear from you, which would be great. So just want to shout out to that community too.
Absolutely, absolutely. As I mentioned, second to last episode, this one will be dropping in with our final episode in about a month's time, if that's correct from when you hear this, approximately. Yeah. But follow us on all the socials, and we'll make sure to update you when that comes across. To all of our listeners, we appreciate you tuning in as always, and we'll catch you around the next episode of the Cambridge Insider podcast. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Cambridge Insider podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel to never miss an episode. For more Cambridge updates, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Have a great week and stay connected.